having a silver arrow at the Festival Speed was obviously something very, very high on our wish list. And actually, second year, 94, we managed to persuade Mercedes Benz to send the W125, which was the most powerful Grand Prix car in history, amazingly, until the 1980s. So to have that thing here was really a big step forward, and it was fantastic for everyone to actually see it moving and see it running here at Goodwood and to have a silver arrow here. And then, of course, we then focused really hard on getting other silver arrows.
I remember Charles and I going to Stuttgart to the Mercedes Benz Museum at one point and just walking around their exhibits and looking at all these utterly priceless silver arrow Grand Prix cars, you know, with their jaws dragging on the ground. And it was a question of which ones would run, which ones Mercedes-Benz were willing to run. Then there were some niceties, I remember, of were they perfectly happy to run if Audi brought auto unions as well, you know, because obviously there are commercial rivalries involved these days, which were in 1937, 38, 39, actual sporting rivalries on track as well.
One of the most exciting things for us in those early years of putting the Festival Speed together was trying to find the cars, or it was such a challenge to try and get the cars we wanted to come, persuade the owners to bring them, and often to actually just, find out where the car was at all, and then to get it to actually come and take part on the hill. And one of those breakthroughs was with Mercedes-Benz, when Max von Pine agreed that they would get the W165 going again and bring it. They brought it to the Festival Speed.
In 1994, it started with this car here, the W125, Mercedes-Benz Silver Arrow, and it was John Surtees running it up the hill. And we had a second car there in 1994, the post-war 1955 W196, which was driven by Sterling Moss originally in 55 and as well in 94 in Goodwood. In 1937, it was Rudolf Caracciola winning the European Championship with this car. And in 1994, in Goodwood, John Surtees won his class, was the fastest in his class, in the Titans class in Goodwood. And I think that's the best expression talking about the Goodwood Festival of Speed, the Titans of motorsports, both the race cars and the race drivers. And you can get as close as possible to both the drivers and the race cars, and that's probably the really exciting thing for all the visitors that come to Goodwood.
And it was a fantastic moment. This car hadn't run since 1939 at the Grand Prix, at the Triplet Grand Prix, and of course it only ran once. That Mercedes-Benz turned up, took it out of the box. No one had ever seen it before. It absolutely thrashed everybody, and it went away again, was never seen again. So to have that car run again for the very first time since 1939 here, and but fantastic to have it here. And it was those sort of breakthroughs in many ways that I remember really kept us going. We had so many fantastic, there's so much excitement about trying to persuade a car or an owner to come and bring something which nobody had seen for forever, really. So those were highlights for me. 97 was another very big year for the Silver Arrows at Goodwood. In fact, it was the first year we had an auto union taking part. And since the very beginning, I remember talking to Doug Nye about it, almost before we started, how were we going to find an auto union? There were none in captivity. They'd all been lost during the war. They were all hidden in Russia and East Germany, and slowly they started to appear. But we were speaking to people, East Germans, things, people who had them, people who'd hidden them, people who'd smuggled them out, about where we could find one, how we could get hold of them. So it was actually a very exciting time trying to track one down, until of course we eventually got the Riga Car. I remember reading this guy in East Germany called Karasik, who owned one, and who allegedly got it working. And we tried to persuade him to come. He wouldn't bring it. Then I think there was this great swap with the Riga Car in East Germany, where they had the original car in the museum, and Audi managed to get that car out of them. And The Riga car was here, and of course we had the famous hill climb car with the double wheels, which Stuck drove, looking just like his dad in the white helmet. And that was a big moment. But to have to actually get an auto union here after all those years, so from 93 to 97 we were on it all the time, trying to find one. It was like the Holy Grail in some ways.
And to hear a running supercharged 16-cylinder auto union was a real big deal, you know, and a big, lazy, slow revving V16, which could lap Monaco, incidentally, in one gear without changing gear. It had so much torque. The straight-eight supercharged Mercedes with a real racing engine, real hard, absolute chest-thumping noise it made, and the smell of the boot polish exhaust, you know, from the highly laced fuels that they used. And to see all that stuff and to breathe in the exhaust fumes in the paddock, you know, with your eyes watering, to see and hear those cars running was extraordinary. The success of the event has really been driven by that.
Perhaps my ultimate experience of Silver Arrows at Goodwood was actually being allowed to drive one, which I have to say was really unbelievable, going out through the wall. Yeah, well, the number one thing is not wanting to be a complete idiot. So there's a fine balance between going so slowly you look a bit of an idiot, or crashing and looking a complete idiot. So no, it is really exciting. And in the Streamliner in 2014 was, I mean, it's absolutely one of my favourite cars anyway to look at. And to be sitting in that thing, you know, obviously it's open, sitting down the start line with it sort of roaring away, it's a beast. And then to drive it up the hill was certainly one of the highlights for me.